Hi.
Okay. So tell me, what did you notice about the children at the beginning of the year, and what were some of the behaviors that you noticed in Habib?
Okay, so in the beginning of the year, it took me a while to understand more about Habib because I was new to class. She was a new child in class. She was not able to. She was not able to do much, and she would just be all by herself in class without really knowing what to do. I also noticed that she had the habit of peeking into someone else's work most of the time, which I thought was a very bad behavior in her, and I would give her consequences for her bad behavior. And I also noticed that she would get really, really emotional at that point in time. And this happened more often because I didn't notice any growth in her, and I simply thought it was because of that little bad behavior where she didn't want to put in an effort at all, and she would just keep peeking into someone else's work. So uh, it went on and on for a while. And when I started giving a lot of assessments, I noticed that she was not able to do anything at all. When I noticed her script, whenever she wrote, it wasn't even legible enough. So I noticed that there was something wrong with her. But at that point in time, I think I was too naive to even diagnose what was really wrong. I would just believe that she had a medical issue and things like that.
How did it make you feel?
It made me feel really, really bad at that point in time because I somehow thought that there were kids in class who were progressing, but there were children like Habib who were not able to do anything at all, and she was completely dependent on another child in class that she was sitting next to. So she would just randomly peek and then be completely lost every time I looked at her and gave her a consequence because at some points in time when she realized that she was not even allowed to look at someone else's work, she would just sit and stare, and that was very, very disappointing.
So what did you do once you noticed these behaviors? What were the steps that you took?
Right. So the first time I really noticed that there was something different about Habib was during my first parent-teacher meeting. When I pulled out her progress report and discussed it with her mother, I did realize from her mother that she was a slow learner, and none of her marks were really up there, where we really wanted it to be. And it was not just with my subject, it was also with the other courses that she was taking up. So at that point in time, I realized that there was something that I had to do differently with Habib, and I worked towards it to ensure that she was also included amongst the rest of the crowd.
Tell us about the note-taking process and which Elizabeth took you through.
So when I realized that she was a slow learner, the first assumption that I made was that she had a medical history. And when I attended the first All Means All training with EB, I noticed that there are a lot of students who are slow learners who do not have any medical history associated with them at all. So at that point in time, I realized that she is also a normal child but needs to be dealt with differently. At that point in time, I started making a lot of notes on how she behaves in class, what her interactions with other students are, with me, and things like that. So the first thing I noticed was she wanted everything in order when she was sitting. So she wanted her books to be with her. She wanted she wanted her pencil to be with her. She wanted a good friend of hers sitting next to her. So when I started making these notes, I also realized that there are few immediate steps that I could take to ensure that she was in a comfortable state. So I made her sit next to a friend who was very close to her and was one of the higher order kids. So whenever she finished early, I could make sure that she could help Habib start working and be a part of the whole class. So yeah.
Sorry.
That helped me understand her a little more, but that was still not where I really wanted her to be. That was more of just a diagnosis phase where I was able to figure out what she was really trying to do. But I think going forward, I was able to do something more concrete.
So tell us about the note-taking process. How many children did you do the note-taking process for? Was it easy, and what are the challenges that you faced?
So I started taking notes for 3 students in my class. It was not very easy because every day the behavior would change, and I was not able to come with any concrete conclusion as to what they really liked and what they didn't. And every time I made notes, I had to make sure I made it while I was teaching because that is when I would remember what they were really doing instead of going back into the staff room and then trying to figure out.
How did you manage that?
So during GP, when my other kids were working, I would quickly make a note of what they were doing during my ironing phase and also what they were doing during my GP phase. So I would say, if my class started at 9 o'clock, I would say 9:05 when I was doing my ironing, Habib was doing this. Habib was setting her bag right to make sure that she was sitting comfortably. 9:07 she was trying to peek into Arish, who was sitting next to her, and find out what she was doing. Okay. 9:15 I was trying. 9:15 when others were doing GP, she was just sitting and staring at me. 9:20 when all of them finished GP, she would raise her hand and ask to leave the class and use the washroom. So this is how I started taking notes.